Guys, hello. And I wanted to do this.
Oh, hey man, it's good to see you.
You close your eye. Total.
Let's see if it's gonna work. From yesterday.
Here. Who fucking cares? No. Oh, don't. This is nothing. To roll the I am. From what I
What's a true life?
The life is true if it's free from fear, an eternal division among oneself. In others, mankind has seeds of greatness in it. A germinal will come, a return to trueness. It will be hardcore. Beats and bright lights to shatter falsehoods. Nerve impulses for the collective body. Builders, maybe a cop who's into building critique, hardcore, total, like that would like to show off large and intricate structures. Stands
Slowly, it was probably white and gold.
good.
The Ubi, unknown for their
Dead bodies of parent. I saw they had said end of quote. This a Sarai, a free.
the way he says it, the force it.
Andre doesn't. The founding part, but were you wrong? And I don't. I don't. Fucker giving me the evil eye. You did melon.
Mass murder on the floor!
Human.
And
She liked games. Then you meet it. In the true life of no, likewise, there is.
no, that's not it. The speak.
It's not coming down!
The world this Arno van Eyck track is an organ. The car, that's not the life that humans live. Well, they love.
What a caustic. That can't be healthy. What's happening here? Why do you keep saying that if it isn't making you?
Sure. The Crabman's been lurking here for a while. He's experienced, not like in case like this is some. I don't. It'll be.
The wood creaks as a gale blows by.
No, a nod, and if it seems no, a nod, and if it can't, like, and that is what cool. I don't know. Maybe you can figure things out, cops. It took us. It's short for a reasonable question. I don't.
Something is off here.
Mental illness. No, this is where I prefer the original.
Whatever this.
It's only our shit. Yes, having food is me.
His eyes flicker.
They're hardcore. You know what? They're just clothes. It's just a style. You know, normal hard style. Anyone, dead body, spirit, and odd. I did anyway. Dude's seen some crazy shit, but he's actually a lot like. Have you been the man? Good thing you didn't squash him. The life is true if it's free from fear. Beats.
Just rejection of the
Nationalism, militarism, race. If some want to lead and others want to be led, of many.
Lord of the Western Plain. It
Enough.
What's the deal?
Yes, what is it?
Bloody hell. That's the only thing left to do with them, but everything else is done. At 10, I should grab my gun. So I got a bit less than 4 hours to do something else. I need to check the tasks. Find the Insulindian phasmet. Get your gun back. Whole Jamrock Public Library. Alright. What now with this?
All the traps are stopped now, and still no sight of the phasmid.
Turn to Morel, let him know. Right.
Our tenant, the policeman. I hope the waves don't
Can you
keep
wash the
you
jacket
up
for
at
me?
night. I can wash it for you. But it's going to take about a half an hour. Think you can stay put for that long?
No, we must run around ceaselessly. It would be torture to stay put.
I could use a breather. It's been another
Yeah,
trouble
we'll
field
wait.
day.
Well, hand it over then, and I'll see what I can do. Must say, I'm proud of this one. It's pretty nice.
That's another task cross off the list.
Tequila sunset. My jacket?
A look of consternation crosses the man's face. He looks at you, then at his bottle, then back at you.
What the fuck are you talking about, Tequila?
This isn't your jacket.
Faum? That's medium concept stuff, not my style at all. I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe you should lay off the booze. It's fucking with your head.
It becomes abundantly clear to you how this man managed to lose his keys, business, friends, and girlfriend. I'm calling it. It's neurological.
Take the fucking jacket.
You know what? Fine. Maybe I can pawn it for some booze.
Aye, good thinking.
See if there's anything else, but I think I did everything there is in this area.
The waves are beginning to die down. Look at those.
Why does she care about the waves so much?
What is it with waves and fishermen? We need to be out there with them, fishing, making a living. So I asked them to accommodate me. But until that happens, I can try to assist you the best I can. So, what will it be, officer?
Kim's presence makes it awkward. Suggestion.
Oh? Who? Well, how can I assist you?
Suggestion. Fuck. What's with this?
The worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench.
We can sit on benches.
We call in the radio station. That should be next after that. I don't know, the gun. Then I close day 4. Or perhaps I close the desk with Werglia. Morel was it. Is there anything with you? Morel is not here now.
Hello,
And
dear.
I stuck the empty trap.
Good
Where's
to see you
Morel?
Thank you for doing that, dear. Morel still isn't feeling well. I convinced him to stay at Gary's to get some rest. I'm afraid the cold has really gotten to him. Yes. Field work is a young person's game, as they say.
Her voice is shaky. What is going on here?
Who's gonna check the traps?
Morel will eventually, or we'll talk Gary into going back out, perhaps.
The lieutenant stares at his shoe, caked in mud. He doesn't say anything.
We'll take care of it.
That really is too much, sweetie. Thank you for your dedication, but I can see you're coming down with a cough yourself.
Very strange. Why is she not letting you do this? It's like she's given up.
Different? How?
Answering a question with a question, for example. Defensive isn't her usual style.
I'm in doubt, sweetie. That's all. Everyone is now and then. It's a strange feeling. I haven't really told this to anyone, but you are a police officer. Do you ever wonder if some lovely story from your childhood is just that? A story? Or a dream?
Hunching her shoulders now. She seems even smaller than she is. Like a sad young girl.
Seeing the Insulindian phasmid was just a story I used to tell people. I didn't really think about whether it was real or not. Morel's so proud of it. He always tells everyone.
So you made it up.
No, at least I don't think I did, but Morel was so eager to believe my story was evidence of the phasmid's existence that I'm some queen of the cryptozoologists. That, and for years his belief made me believe too, but now we're both getting old and he's still working himself sick out in those reeds looking for it. But what if I was just wrong? I think I was.
The lieutenant opens his notebook, but doesn't write anything.
Oh my god.
An
Holy
acorn
shit,
is
it
not the
worked.
same as the tree. That requires time, diligence, and care.
But it is. We've spent years searching for the phasmid, hunting it together. Without it, what are we? Just another pathetic old couple. If I hadn't led him down this path, he could have a steady job lecturing at a university.
You know, this reminds you of the Pericanasian theory of love. In essence, love is a relay out of death. Generation by generation, our love remains in our progeny. Lay some of that on her.
Oh, sweetie, I don't think the Pericarnassians were thinking of people in my situation. I was a paraplegic before we met. He didn't know before I arrived, on our first date. If I weren't the queen of the cryptozoologists, if I didn't tell him that story...
She has to swallow to relax her throat.
Then why do I not dare tell him? I've wasted enough of your time with this drama. I really must stop talking about it, lest I start crying and waste more of your time.
Do you know, Dante, that I'm done with fast food for life?
What you have to know is the Insulindian phasmid probably does not exist. Let us fools chase our ghosts. There are a million better things to do with your life.
I said, Dante, I'm done with fast food for life.
Are there? Some of the other things are pretty bad.
true believer. Sometimes I still see it too. The real memory of it, how it was there. Not the memory of the memory, but it's so hard to tell the two apart.
Don't I know I ate pizza in Italy multiple times. I ate pizza in Verona, I ate pizza in Florence, I ate pizza in Genova, I ate pizza in Rimini. I ate where also I was on a lot of places. Perugia. When I better think about it, I've been in a lot of places in Italy. And I tried everything, you know. Oh yeah, I ate pizza in Venice. I also paid 10 or 15 bucks for a freaking espresso in Venice. Espresso in my country is $1, but in Venice it's freaking 15 bucks. It was, maybe it's even more now. I don't know. I really don't know the prices now. I ate lobster in Italy. I ate a crab in Italy. I ate mushrooms in Italy. I ate frogs in Italy. Ice cream, of course. 5, 6 different coffees. Some pasta. That would be it. At least I think so. In Venice, in a freaking restaurant. I believe it wasn't 15 euros, 12, 13. I say 15 to square it. But it was very expensive. It's only $1 in my country, alright? You know how I remember Venice? I remember Venice. It was a very bad weather. Like when I say bad, I mean bad. Do you know there's squares in Venice and Venezia? And when the rain drops, okay, and it was a freaking flood. The buildings were 1 meter underwater, and then they need to raise those bridges, and then people pass on those bridges. So everything smelled of pigeon shit. No matter where I went, it was pigeon shit. In a restaurant, outside, the only thing that I could smell was pigeon shit. That's how I remember that. You got lucky, Transistor. If you were there under 40 degrees, then you got freaking lucky. Alright.
Oh no, thank you, but I can get there on my own. This old thing is gas powered. And then a taxi home. It's not so bad.
Really?
Oh, sweetie. Please don't get stuck on a dream. Take it from me and Morel.
Can I have your address?
Okay, it's 1113 Tabernacle Road, Jamrock, but...
Been a pleasure, ma'am.
Likewise, sweetie. Thank you for everything. Truly. Even though it turned out to be a
waste of time. A lie. A fool's hope. Like that, she drives off. The gas tank sputters quietly as she gets to the doors, then pushes them open. Outside, it's snowing.
We should go too.
Well, that's done at least. Authority. Fucking hell, what should I do now? An open bed toilet with rain. Yeah, it does. We can speak with her until 10. Maybe read a few books or something.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? Word has traveled.
One of the tall...
It appears we are being monitored every step we take, colleague. Did we have any other business here?
Reality.
This.
Yes, an experimental side case.
How truly curious. A sort of philosopher detective.
Are they now?
A deep synthesis. I'll assist you however I can then. Go ahead.
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
Where are we?
We're in Martinez, baby.
Baby.
A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It's a disco holdover, pay it no heed.
I'm a disco holdover myself.
Aren't we all?
She refers to your corresponding ages.
Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. Shelled to smithereens during the Revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol, and the bay feeds into the ocean. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water, the Insulindic.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the blue immensities.
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble, A smoothed over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the River Esperance. We're in the delta of this river, on the 6th branch, the Martinez distributary.
It is clear this pebble is of enormous value to her and to humanity at large.
What's Revachol?
Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city, the great kind. History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries. The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Semenine and Ile Marat, depending on your creed. In the DeLorean century, 380 years ago. They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connected tissue. It's where the money is.
So we're pretty much the center of the world.
Oh, we're quite a way off. About...
A sparkle of lights on the horizon, like evening stars above the curvature of the planet.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Jamais vu.
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something about a lowdown.
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions to ask, about even more fundamental aspects of reality. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Ma'am, Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
It's better not to eat all your candy at once.
Indeed. I'm always at your service. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I...
Jamais vu instead of what? Was surely a nation with scrap, forget. Internalize.
You're back. More lessons in basic reality?
6 kilometers southwest, in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at a rabid black dog licking its wounds in the grass. To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again. We always do.
You? You're an officer of the RCM. Preciso Mundo. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
He's being sarcastic.
We are.
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin. The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, three pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
All three are good to know when we are out policing.
So I'm basically lucky of capital.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent provisional rulers like it. Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you. The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown. They called it the international zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed. A true blue citizens' initiative. They will never forgive you.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Revacholians get to keep the peace in Revachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol. And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help. Glad to have been of assistance. Your more lessons in basic reality.
A strange.
It's a low chance with this conceptualization. But there are very few things left to do.
You're back. More lessons in basic reality.
Dolores Day
My
plus
favorite part
2.
of the day.
Imagine without.
Go ahead, ask me
My
anything.
conceptualization is 8. And it's still a low chance. %.
A strange coding.
Amazing. Fucking amazing.
You're back. More lessons in basic reality. My favorite part. is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit. Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways.
What shape is the world then?
We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s.
ORG, Occident Grad.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, they're piecing together a dark grey corona.
Dark grey corona.
Yes. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago.
A cold fear seeps into you.
What do you mean, corona?
They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness. I am sorry, dear. It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here. But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound.
A fractured corona doesn't feel like it's gonna bring anyone together.
You have misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it. See, everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities.
The cold seeps into you. The air is heavy with 80% humidity. Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there, on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. The lieutenant observes you both, silently. He adjusts his glasses.
A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Some sort of krill hunter? No, wait. You're an ancient ruin. A symbol of hubris and decay. Half submerged in some salty sea. Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games.
What is this place here?
Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old.
What are whoppers, transistor? taste. But that's just a regular dish. That there's a lot of fucking things, you know. That's I don't know. I'll show you some. If I can find it. For example, this.
But from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful.
Point is into the skull.
The girl in the old lady rags
Yeah.
looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture. Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture. phenomenon, all permeating, downright mandatory. Nothing infra about disco, baby. Those days are long behind me. And even in the early 30s, I would say I was more of a new girl. Disco was a minor, but still enjoyable facet of the whole thing for me. The new, a cultural era, and the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post-revolutionary Revachol. It was ultra-liberal. It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-colored everything. By the looks of it, that would have been when you came of age. Now, of course, you're much more grounded. A serious detective on a case called reality. Speaking of, is there anything else? What I am not is a basic term of reality.
There may be a way to get her speaking about herself at some later juncture.
What is pale?
The pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
Yes. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. We do have a case to attend to.
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's try something else.
I want to know what a pale is.
I don't think your colleague would appreciate that. He has already been so patient with this whole exercise. Let's continue with something else, all right?
Talk to Joyce
You
about
can
the
ask
pale
about
without Kim.
anything else in the world. Anything.
You could sneak back later when the lieutenant is not here, unless you can convince him to step aside.
Ask him to step away.
Good idea. Just ask him. He won't make a scene.
Fine.
Steps away.
See? What can he do? You're a grown man.
Are you sure you're sure?
Yeah, what is pale?
Okay. The pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass. Isla is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Mundi, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde. An oceanic isla. It comprises mostly of water. Muindi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulinde the bluest. What can I say? Each is perishing and dear. Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
The negation of being.
That's right. The negation of being.
We're surrounded by pale. How do you get from Isola to Isola?
Oh, it is so difficult for us.
A squall of birds. Hardware operating in the harbor. Firm. Self-evident.
It is possible to force dimensions on the pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it is still hard for humans to navigate the pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged extensively. Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading, that it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter. They call it the blend over of the self. The pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past.
Who says and who argues?
The logical positivists say, the dialectical materialists argue. It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of pale exposure per year.
It's more for her. Way more.
No, Lieutenant Dubois. I'm entreprenetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of pale transit annually.
Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange grey-haired woman in her lorry.
Yes, carried in the hulls of airships. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
You should ask the pal driver about this. See what she says.
Up to my gills, officer. It's difficult to describe, or even measure. Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
There's a slippery article in there.
Pale when it's particular, this territory of Pale. The Pale when it's pale in its entirety. Once you've seen it, language balks at the difference. Entreprenetics is the scientific study of the Pale, or a recent iteration of it by way of grad. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Pericarnassians called it the Western Plain.
They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super E-Solar. It was not merely in the west, it was everywhere, even then, surrounding them.
There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years. Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later. Hybrid airships, Detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near Pale to far Pale. In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end. If we throw them precisely. Then they don't.
Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface.
No, Detective. We're safe. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isla. An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. The Great Vision. The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called Porch Collapse. Imagine a grey coronal mist, cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism, a mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's the most disco thing you will ever see.
You hear your pulse rise. The air feels caustic and cold suddenly.
The Pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There is more Pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping. What do you think, Detective?
Growing more and more of the Pale.
Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the Pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the Pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists. Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge. I suggest you do the same. It doesn't look like you're doing the same. The suggestion was meant in earnest, Detective. Live life. Beyond curious. Tell me, what do you think of the Pale?
You are right, it's disco. It will end all life. Its advance can only be stopped with immediate, total, ruthless communism. I mean, if you can call it spoiler.
For nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we do actual police work now?
The work.
But I did. Anyway.
Damn it, you're a grown man, the lieutenant thinks. Shouldn't have gotten protective hair.
Some more reality lowdown before we
I am
go,
happy to oblige.
because there's very little left. What times are these?
These are unimportant times, Detective. You and I were born after the dust had settled. 1,000th of a second too late.
Too late for what?
For the big time.
The smile of a predator. No doubt what she's got in mind.
All men are predators, dear. Nothing much to be done about that. It's all a matter of where you get to file your teeth. The revolution. It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle. Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head. Oh, and the anarchists too. They shot them well.